through your freedom.
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel, where we talk about the absolute worst parts of our modern civilization. It has hit the fan big time. Starvation. Is it an SHTF possibility? Well, I'll tell you what, folks, starvation has actually caused SHTF to happen. Just ask the French aristocrats, right? Who said, let them eat cake, meaning let them eat the smoky crust out of the inside of an oven. Yeah, they were starving, the French people, because of government policies. That's right, folks, government policies. Their decisions, forcing the people, punishing the people for taking actions that they don't like, that aren't good for them naturally. See, human beings tend to do what's needed to survive, and then thrive. That comes next, right? You survive and then you prosper. Well, in a world where governments interfere, bad things happen. Now, let's take, for example, Sri Lanka. Or you can pick the United Arab Emirates. Or you can pick Peru. Okay? 3 different regions, 3 different cultures. 3 different peoples. Sri Lanka, Middle East. So you got Asian Pacific, Middle East, and South American. They are having protests and riots, and government is responding with curfew. Why is that? Well, the people are very upset because of inflation. And these are essentially, folks, third world wanting to be emerging market economies. Okay, they're third world economies, and they also have some prosperity, trying to grow. Now, what has the government done? Well, if food costs are going up, a smart person would say, I see a niche. I see a need. We need to grow more of our own food to bring supplies up and the costs down. And I know this is all rather philosophical, folks, or it's rather a little bit on economics. It's a bit on agriculture. Hey, it's like food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, self-defense. You've got to have those basics. So yeah, this is about big picture. It's also about the micro and the macro, little and big pictures. So these people are now starting to protest. They're starting to riot. Government's starting to take action against them. This is incredible. Now, we live in the United States of America, where things are great, or so they seem. Certainly, we're better off than these third world and emerging market economies. That's for certain. Absolutely for certain. So what are they doing? Once again, it's not the people. If the people knew they needed more energy, they would go get it. Energy, oil, gas, coal, whatever it takes. It is government that interferes. It is government that says, no, you can't do one thing, and yes, you must do another. It's government that interferes with its policies and its rules and its restrictions and its own agenda. So in Europe, folks, rather than saying you need more energy, let's get it, in Europe, the governments have decided, no, maybe we should start a war with Russia, the major supplier that they depend on. I mean, they depend on many suppliers, folks, but Russia is a major supplier for that and other things. And so Europe, in order to punish Russia for what I've described as individual economic and corrupt reasons, Europe, the US, the banking system, the political cartels or political family cartels working in conjunction with, shall we say, Eastern Europe oligarchs to control the region and create more problems. Europe, in order to punish Russia, who is now the new boogeyman. And we were told we would have global terror organizations to fear the rest of our lives. Well, I guess they ran out of fear there, so they had to create a new boogeyman. So let's punish him. Europe is going to cap potash imports as planting season begins. So the European Union brilliantly is going to punish Russia by not buying fertilizer. That's what potash is. Some people call it potash or potash. It doesn't matter. It's fertilizer. And what is fertilizer, folks? Fertilizer is a key element in industrial farming, growing and getting the maximum yield out of the farmable acreage. It's an inexpensive energy boost, if you will. It'll increase yield 5 times, maybe 10 times, right? Whatever the amount, it increases food yield. So you spend, it makes food cheaper. You just get a whole lot more food out of every acre. So if the European Union, for example, spends $1 billion on potash from Russia, they buy that much fertilizer from Russia, it equates to $5 or $10 billion in food production, food value, and increase. So who is getting hurt more by the sanctions, folks? Hurting Russia to the tune of $1 billion? Or the European people, who now have $5 to $10 billion less produce in the store, causing the price of whatever produce is available to go up. So possible food shortages, increase in cost, to do what? This is the equivalent of saying, well, I'm going to shoot that guy in the foot with 1 bullet, but he gets to shoot 6 into my foot. How is that smart, right? So the bigger question is, if we know this, if we know who is getting hurt worse in the sanctions, the big question is, why is the European Union and the United States doing things to hurt themselves? Right? The US screwed up its energy independence day one with the Biden administration by cutting off our oil pipeline, the Keystone. Ruining jobs, ruining lives, ruining towns, ruining corporations, and ruining the energy costs for the rest of us. Now we have an energy deficit, not in the form of potash, but in the form of the ability to farm cheap, transport cheaply, and also securely. Right? Also, the currency program in the United States of America. They have persisted in printing money instead of correcting the problem. Years ago, naively, I believe government, this is back in the early teens and in the mid 20 teens and in the late 20 teens under the Trump administration, I thought they should be trying to fix the problem, not just kick the can down the road, print more money and kick the can down the road. That's all they have done, is printed more and taken no steps to correct anything. Is this to crash the system for the Great Reset? It looks to me like there is no other conclusion to form than that. So what have the world leaders in the United States and the European Union promised us? They have promised us that there will be food shortages. Whether it's Justin Trudeau up in Canada, President Biden in the United States, and European Union leaders telling the people there's going to be shortages, food's going to get expensive. Likewise, for example, Germany, higher energy costs and energy shortages. Instead of fixing the problem, they tell people to put on more sweaters. Starvation is a possibility, folks. As I said, I don't see any riots. I don't see any protests even over food prices in America or fuel prices. We're just feeling the pinch and not liking it. And we're going to vote on that this year, which is a good thing for Americans to be voting to get rid of these bums. Hopefully, there's a positive effect. But in other countries around the world, folks, little countries like Sri Lanka, the Middle East zones, Africa, South America, where Peru is already having so many problems, they have curfews established. There's going to be people going very hungry, not a little hungry, not because they don't want to afford the food, but because they can't afford it or it's just not available. Because in those little countries, rather than planting food, they thought they would rely on the US, rely on Europe, rely on Brazil and Argentina, rely on other big food producing areas to help them. And when political stupidity is brought to bear on it, guess what? Those same people who relied on others fail, suffer, are hurt. As a free person in the United States of America and other parts of the world, as a free person, you can be prepared. You can be prepared. It's a good idea. Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. Be prepared to do all those things for yourself that formerly we trusted government to not meddle, but to improve. We trusted them to improve these things and make things better. That's why we're preppers, folks, because they have failed to do their job properly. And in fact, it appears they're doing things negatively, intentionally. So get prepared, folks. Chance favors that prepared mind of yours. And aren't you glad you are a prepper? More to come, folks. Semper Fi, Godspeed.